Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. We'll skip all the pleasantries because there's breaking news on this Monday morning. CeeDee Lamb and the Dallas Cowboys signing a 4-year, $136 million contract. Finally, Chuck, the deal gets done.
Just in the nick of time and just when you thought you weren't going to have a lead story today, Matt.
I mean,
timing is everything.
It literally happened 10 minutes before we walked in here, right after I printed out all the rundowns. So, you know what? Screw my rundown.
That's right.
Let's talk about CeeDee Lamb.
Improvise.
CeeDee Lamb finally gets his deal done. He comes in at $34 million, which is just a little bit less than Justin Jefferson. Too much, too little, or just right for CeeDee Lamb, Chuck?
Probably just right. I mean, looks like everybody bent a little bit because I think CeeDee probably wanted 35. Cowboys were offering 34. What a coincidence. They meet in the middle, and we'll have 88 on the field for the opener.
Will we? I mean, we'll have him on the field, but how much do you think he's going to play now? Because you have a 2-week ramp up essentially, and it's no shocker the deal gets done this week. Training camp just ended. There's no more preseason games. He didn't have to go out to Oxnard, so great job by CeeDee getting out of training camp at least. But
I just like all the videos I've seen is, CeeDee's working out on the beach, and it's like, wait, oxymoron, working out on the beach. So, yeah, I think there will be a ramp up. I think we've talked about this before. McCarthy will probably go slowly with him because the last thing you want is your $34 million a year guy to be out there doing things that he's not ready to do just yet. So I think it's going to be an interesting first month of the season to see how much he is indeed out there, if it's going to be as much as he's usually out there, or is it going to be a little bit less?
Well, the Todd Archer of ESPN just tweeted out the Cowboys have 3 practices this week. Will work Lamb in smartly, but getting the deal done now helps to make sure he's going to be ready for week 1 against Cleveland. So he's going to play 100%. Not shocked that this deal got done, though. I mean, I think they'd been working towards this. The questions came every day to Jerry and Mike McCarthy and Dak and everybody. I mean, we've been waiting for this to happen for the last month and a half, and finally it gets done. But it probably cost the Cowboys a good $5 to $6 million a year not getting it done last year or earlier this summer.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this too, where the Cowboys were in a tough situation based on contracts that they already have on the books. So, hey, no matter how we got here, we got here. Now we can take this story off the table, move on to the next, which is finally we're talking about football and the start of the NFL season.
We're not talking about football yet. We have Dak Prescott's contract still has to get done.
Maybe not.
Do you think now that this deal is done that it's almost like the snowball rolling downhill? So now CeeDee's is done, maybe Dak's gets done this week, and then we can really show up.
I'm not really sure because I don't really know. I'm not in the inner sanctum there with what their mindset is in terms of how they want to go about this, and quite frankly, how Dak wants to go about this too. So I'll be just as curious as anybody to see if this now puts the spotlight on Dak, or do we still have to think about Micah getting his bag first? That to me is, I don't know what the order is on this.
I think it's going to be Dak and then Micah. Micah's not going to get signed this year, I don't think. I think his deal will probably come next summer. But regarding CeeDee, is it worth it this day and age to pay 4 years, $136 million to a receiver?
Well, in this particular case, yes, because he's really good, offense. And he's certainly a huge chunk of the pie. So, the guy has earned his first bag. He got it. He's not the highest paid guy in the league, but he's the number 2 guy. And, looks like he's made some concessions because, based on the numbers that he put out last year, you could make the argument that he's more valuable. He's worth more than Justin Jefferson. And I know it's silly because they're both great players and we're talking about $1 million here and $1 million there. But a lot of these guys, as we've seen, especially with the Cowboys here of late, they like the moniker of being the highest paid guy at their position for that moment. So good on CeeDee, good on the Cowboys. Let's go.
They do, but it's almost like I was listening to the radio a little bit earlier today, and one guy basically sets the market and is trying to make sure that his position group is going to be taken care of years down the road. So next time a Brandon Ayuk comes up, or one of these young receivers in the league comes up, they're going to try and break the record because they want to make sure that the receiver after that, Devontae Smith, let's just say, or whoever, insert young receiver here, they get their bag, which is equal to or more than what the previous person had.
I think that's part of the equation, certainly. However, it comes down to ego and greed individually. Because let's be real. I mean, if let's say Jalen Tolbert turns out to be the next CeeDee Lamb, when Jalen Tolbert is up, are they going to be able to pay him like they're paying CeeDee Lamb? I don't think they're going to be able to.
No.
Because Jalen Tolbert's position on this team right now is the number 3 guy. So they've paid their number 1. They paid their number 1 for the first 4 years. Now it's going to be incumbent upon the front office and the scouting staff to see if they can find some guys in the draft to then be 2, 3, and 4 for the next 4 years.
I mean, it's also not surprising this deal got done because Jerry caved again.
Well, let's just say, he's a businessman and they got it done. I mean, we can – you're right.
I mean,
but we knew that this was going to – it does happen every time, 100%. But we knew something was going to happen, right? They weren't more than likely going to let this guy walk. So, I don't know. I don't know what to feel about any of that. I mean, just glad it's done, and we're on to the next. Now we got a story today.
Yeah, there you go. Now you get to lead your sports block tonight
yes.
with CeeDee Lamb. Definitely not the news that I thought I was going to get today, 2 minutes before walking in here, but happy it happened nonetheless. We do have a lot of other stuff to get to today as well. DaRon Bland broke his foot this weekend, or broke his foot last week. It came out this weekend. Trey Lance had a stinker of a preseason game. And we're going to do our first high school hype squad of the season as well as high school football kicks off this week. So also we have our live studio audience today. My mother is sitting here watching, so I better not mess up.
Yes. So be on your best behavior. You're going into timeout.
Anyway. Don't put me in timeout, guys.
Was there timeout in your house? Or was this good old-fashioned whoopings? No whoopings.
I was
good.
just a good kid.
Okay. Was he? Oh, wait. Wow. Darn your snot bubbles from your mom.
All right, let's get to trivia first. With high school football starting this week, who was the last San Antonio area team to win a football state championship in the 3A to 6A ranks?
Area?
San Antonio area team.
Okay.
But I'm not counting Shiner. I'll just say right now I'm not counting Shiner because they're so far out. I know they're in our DMA, but
yes,
not
we
counting
had Shiner and did Goliad win one too? Somebody in that area won a state championship in this decade. But
I'm not counting those two.
Okay.
Shiner won 2.
All right, I think I have an idea, but I could be wrong.
Okay, we'll come back to it when we get to high school stuff. I want to talk about DaRon Bland here for a little bit. So DaRon Bland breaks his foot. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. The Cowboys, their depth at corner is going to be tested majorly, especially because you have Trayvon Diggs already coming off the ACL. How is that going to affect him not having his running mate? It just seems like they can't have a healthy secondary at all.
You're right. It always seems like one of them is out, and just the timing, right? How often were we spitballing in the office, right, Matt, about first guy down, you know who's coming in, right? 21's coming in. Unfortunately, 21 just signed with the Vikings a little over a week ago, or was it a week ago? Roughly in that
Something
area.
like
so
that.
Timing is everything because it would have been nice to have a perennial pros pro back on your team, but Stephon Gilmore not available. So Jerry was asked after the game the other night if they were going to bring somebody in. He said, nope, we're staying in-house. So looks like they might be trying to tread water for at least the first month of the season while they get this all sorted out. And, if some of these younger guys can play, it's just, again, it can never be whole, right? No team's going to be whole at the end of the year anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they're not whole at the beginning of the year. That's when you want all your guys healthy at
Right.
least. So now they're going to have to rely more on Kalen Carson, the rookie. They're going to have to rely more on Andrew Booth, the second, who they just brought in. I can't pronounce the fifth corner's name. I'm not even going to try.
Where is it? Because I can never remember his name either.
It is.
Starts with an I.
Yeah, it's Israel Makaumu, I think.
So if you watch that guy at OTAs and mini camps, Makuamu,
Yeah.
he's long and rangy and he sticks out. Like his length is super measurable with the naked eye against other guys running on the field. He's one of those guys I've always felt like was a little sneaky, but they never really talk about him or, and I know he's been banged up too, but you're right. They've got some younger guys, but this is what the league has become, right? You're only as good as what 52 and 53 look like. So we'll see how they do, trying to mix and match, pair this out as they wait to get healthy in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jordan Lewis as well. So, I mean, he should be able to fill in pretty well.
100%.
I think what this really, though, points to is like the the Cowboys need to apply pressure. They need to get a ton of pressure on their defensive line now because they cannot have, just sitting back there picking apart the secondary. They're going to be weak back there.
Well, they're not going to have to worry about that week one. Deshaun Watson doesn't actually know how to throw the ball. So you're right, though, Bob. They are going to have to get a lot of pressure with Micah and with DeMarcus Lawrence and with all the guys that they've signed up front. They're going to be relying a lot on Jordan Lewis. The guys they have week 1 through 6 is they're at the Browns, they're against the Saints, not a high-flying offense. Ravens, pretty good. Got the reigning MVP, so I would say that's going to be a little bit of trouble. Got to play Daniel Jones and the Giants. You got to play Russell Wilson maybe in the Steelers, Justin Fields, who's starting there. And then you have the Lions before the bye. So if you can make it through those games, maybe a 4-2 stretch before you get DaRon Bland back, I think that's probably ideal.
Yeah, I think, at this point in the season, or every season really for McCarthy, he measures the season in 4-game increments. So I think what you don't want to do, right, is go winless. Mm-hmm. You've got to tread water as best you can while you're trying to figure some things out. Hopefully you build up some equity and you get a few wins. And if you're 4-2, I would think that that's a hell of a start to the season. So
absolutely,
that would be, I think, best case scenario for them. But especially early on in the year where you're trying to figure something out, maybe this is a team that's got to do more on offense than we expected early on in order for them to win games. But we'll wait and see how it all plays out.
Trey Lance being signed, CeeDee Lamb being signed definitely helps with that offense.
I 100% agree.
188 targets last year.
And it's going to take pressure off of, even if he's just out there as a decoy, which obviously he'll be more than that, but it just creates opportunities for everybody else on the field.
I'm glad they got the CD deal done before all of our fantasy drafts because that's just very helpful for me. Let's talk about Trey Lance as well. So Trey Lance pretty much ended his preseason with a whimper. He threw 5 picks against the Chargers. The last one was just brutal. It was so bad. You and I were watching the game together on Saturday, and he had a guy going wide open up the seam. All he had to do was lead him up the field, and they might have won that preseason game. Instead, he throws behind him and gets picked off, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, watching that whole sequence, right? I mean, I thought it was fascinating. McCarthy was huddling up with his other coaches, and it looked like they just dialed up the right play, right? Mm-hmm. When you're watching it in real time, it's like, oh, this guy's turned the ball over 5 times, and he's going to be the hero, and everybody's going to forget about this because they came out and won the game at the end. And then that throw was so bad.
It was so bad.
I mean, I would wager that anybody in this room could have thrown a better pass on that one. And, like the fourth one, that was a 50-50 ball that got taken away from.
Yeah, that was more on the receiver than him.
Right. So, there is some of that. And, I know we talked about Trey Lance a lot this preseason, obviously, because he was the guy that was playing the most. But he made strides, I feel like, every week. But even with that said, even with the 5 turnovers, the fact that the Cowboys were even in that game, I think, speaks to how well, even in a preseason game, this coaching staff, these players, whether it's the A-teamers or the C-teamers, are probably going to be able to manage games this year.
Yeah, this is what Coach Mike McCarthy said after the game about his guy, Trey Lance.
Trey in particular, he's just an ascending, young, talented quarterback that, just loves to be coached. I wish we had 3 more preseason games just to get him out there, just to keep playing because, he had tremendous production. But yes, the turnovers are always the first thing we talk about and coach and go through. And that last opportunity, he definitely was where he needed to be. Had a chance to hit that last touchdown. So there's always been 4 or 5 plays each game that he'll learn from, but he continually gets better every time you give him a chance, and I think that says a lot about him. I think he's just a young guy that needs to play. I think he'll play in this league for a long time.
I don't know about that, Coach McCarthy. I don't know if he'll play in the league for a long time. I don't think he can play in this league to begin with, let alone for a while.
Well, you have to look at the positives too in some of this, right? A, it's preseason. B, it's his 3rd or 4th try. Third try at getting some snaps and a lot of snaps. I mean, he rushed for almost 100 yards.
Yeah, but he's not a running back.
Right? No, that's true, but he threw for a lot too. So, again, you can't discount 5 interceptions, right? And especially the last one sticks out because even with all of that going on, with the 4 picks up to the last chance they had an opportunity to win that football game. It's
he threw the
you
same
see growth. It's just wow. He hadn't turned the ball over at all. Then to go out and do that, that was like Jiffy Pop popcorn, man. The way balls were going into the other guy's hands.
He threw the same amount of touchdowns to each team. Like he threw a pick six and he threw one to Flournoy. So like you see the good there with him. But my question is always, why are they so fascinated by this guy? He's a third-string quarterback on your team, yet you keep talking about the reps. How are we going to get him more reps during the season now that we don't have preseason games? How are we going to give him reps in the preseason? How are we going to do all these things? Why is this so important to this coaching staff is my question.
Well, because I think
Jerry.
at some point, you may have to play Trey Lance. I mean, I think they know what they have in Cooper Rush, and we obviously know what they have in Dak. So the more reps you can get for a young quarterback, I think that's what the plan was, and why not? Why not see what he can do? And he's shown flashes. I don't know that he showed enough that you would ever feel comfortable if he had to go into a football game. But again, at some point, what happens if Dak goes down for an extended period of time, then Cooper Rush goes down in a football game, but your team is still a game or two out of the playoffs? This could be something that bears fruit, later on down the season that you had no idea or ever saw coming.
Maybe, but right now he sucks. He's not a viable NFL starting quarterback. I'm not even sure he's one of the top 64 quarterbacks in the league, which is why he's a third stringer. He is not a good quarterback. If they want to have some gadget plays with him, but why is he taking up a roster spot when you don't need him to take up a roster spot right now? You can have him be the emergency quarterback under this new CBA. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm with you on that. I mean, especially in this day and age where rosters are so tiny on game day, who's going to play? That one extra spot that you're saving is a little bit perplexing, even though I know they've got dollars invested in Trey Lance and then equity by trading a 4th-round pick for him. So, there's that too. I understand the business side of it, but at some point, does the business make sense? And I guess we'll find out for week 1 if he's active or if something doesn't happen in the interim.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's get to the trivia answer here. Trivia question was, who was the last San Antonio area high school to win a football state championship, not including 1A, 2A, 3A? So 4A, 5A, 6A state championship. Any guesses?
Well, I mean, first all I heard was San Antonio, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I was thinking Lee, Churchill, right, going back in the Wayback Machine. The Judson obviously crosses my mind, but I guess I'd have to say Steele, 2010.
Oh, wrong one. But yes, that was.
It's time for the draft. They sped it up.
That used to be my ding ding.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yes, that's correct.
Excellent.
Yeah, Steele in 2010-2011 season, they ended up winning 24-21 over. The name is escaping me right now. I forgot who they played against, but yes, that is correct.
Denton Geyer?
Something like that. Yeah, yes, it was Geyer. Yes.
Don't hold me to that.
It was Geyer.
Was it? Okay.
I remember looking
Okay.
at it earlier, but I couldn't remember for some reason. We almost had one last year with Smithson Valley.
Yep.
But didn't end up finishing that one
By
off.
the
'cause
way, do you
Alito
think-
is so good.
Right? Yes, and will be again this year. Do you think we got Smithson Valley ranked a little low? No offense to Carlos, because he does a great job with that every year.
I was just about to talk about that. I think Alamo Heights is a little low too.
Okay.
So let's go over our first high school hype squad section of the year. High school football is starting. Did you lose your track on your papers?
I did, and then because they're not numbered, now it's like,
Oh, now I have to number them.
well,
That's the
Can you
first
color
one.
code them too, please?
and Carlos does a great job with our poll, by the way. And so you could spitball this poll 1,000 different ways. So if we're going to err on the side of anything, we should always err on the side of Carlos.
All right, I guess we'll give Carlos a break, but I
Yes.
disagree with some of the ways we ranked him. So let's reveal our TNL top 10. It was revealed yesterday. We have one every week of the high school football season for the next 10 weeks. First up is Steele. Steele, that's not a shocker.
Nope.
They were one step away from a football state championship game last year. Ended up losing in the semifinals. They have a lot of returners, 9 offensive returners this year, 4 defensive returners, Chad Warner, Jalen Cooper, Jonathan Hatton, all coming back. Their offense is going to be stacked. They might score 60 a game.
I'm all for that. I mean, as young as they were last year, and to see them grow up the way they did and as quickly as they did and as dominant as they did, Remember they caught us by storm last year when they just rolled Brennan. And I know Brennan was young
a young
too.
Team,
And then Brennan got hot too. So just love to see it, man. Young guys figure it out pretty quickly. And in Steele's case, they don't ever seem to not figure it out.
Right. Number 2 in the TNL top 10 poll is Reagan. They obviously went undefeated last year. Only loss came in the second round of the playoffs. They got just a brutal draw last year in the playoffs. They kind of got hosed, but that's just me. Lyndon Hamilton's bringing back a lot of his guys, 6 on the offensive side, 6 on the defensive side. Cole Pryor is one of the best running backs in our area, if not the best running back in our area. I mean, Michael Terry probably has something to say about that. But now
Michael Terry would be the best guy at any position on the field in our area.
Very true. Got Caleb Capuccio also coming back. They play Brennan the first week. Saturday night is going to be Brennan versus Reagan this week. So Brennan is number 3 in our TNL top 10 poll. So that's going to be 2-3 right off the bat. We're going to see where everyone stands on that one. And Brennan has a much older team this year, I would say. Caden Glass, the quarterback, the sophomore last year, he's going to have another year under his belt. Brennan should be a team right off the bat that everyone should be looking out for.
Mm-hmm.
That was good input.
I'm here for you, Matt.
Judson is number 4. Mark Soto's squad. They went 4-8 last year, 2-3 in district, but they almost made a run in the playoffs. They started getting hot right at the end of the year. And bringing back Elijah Favela, the quarterback, bringing back Jordan Dukes, Jack Call. You got a lot of guys on this roster that are another year older and are going to be looking to make a run. They play Johnson week 1. Johnson's number 9 in our TNL top 10 poll, so that's going to be another banger on week 1 as well.
Yeah, I think Mark Soto finally got the culture where he wants it, kind of wrangle in the program again, get them all sailing their ships in the right direction. So they will be fascinating to see how they start.
Yeah,
and
especially in the new district now too.
Yep.
If that game against Steele is just going to be so fantastic, as it is every season, but this year it feels like it has a little bit more juice. Piper, surprising addition to being this high in the top 10. They're 12-2 last year, a 6-0 in district. They're returning a lot of starters. They do lose their quarterback, Jake South. They got 9 on the offensive side, 6 on the defensive side. One of the best receivers in our area, Isaiah Champagne. He is out of the cast now, and he will be catching balls with both hands instead of just one. I mean, that kid's phenomenal. He played when they played in the Alamo Dome last year. I want to say it was their last game or maybe their second to last game because they ended up losing to Liberty Hill in the regional finals, I think. He made one of the most phenomenal catches I've ever seen, and he had a cast on his wrist. I was like, who is this kid?
That's awesome.
Nick Rogers has that team kind of purring up there. He's a phenomenal coach and phenomenal dude, too.
Yeah, and to think that they've got 15 of their starters back, that's pretty impressive coming off a 12-2 season.
Yeah, Smithson Valley going to be number 6. I think Smithson Valley, this is where our problem with the list comes out because I think they should have been a little bit higher. They got only 3 returning starters on the offensive side, 5 on the defensive side, so I get why they're a little lower. But when you make a state championship game in your division, I think you should be ranked a little bit higher.
And it's Larry Hill.
Yeah.
So again, if we're going to err, we err on the side of Larry Hill.
Absolutely. It's been a good recipe for a long time. Alamo Heights is 7.
Same with this one.
Alamo Heights is ranked 5 on Dave Campbell's 5A D1 top 10. They're ranked the 5th best team in the state, yet they're ranked 7th in our poll here. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And Carlos, I love you, but we're going to have a chat about that one. They went 12-1 last year, 9-0 in district. They probably have the best player in our area coming back with Michael Terry. He's already getting offers from Texas, from Oregon, from Nebraska. I think he has 22 Division I offers right now, and he's choosing between those 3. He already took a visit to Texas A&M as well. So they're going to be really, really fun to watch. And finally, Alamo Heights is in a division where they're not going to run roughshod through every single team they play.
Yes, I know there were a lot of schools that were happy that Alamo Heights had moved on and moved out.
Yeah, one of them being Burbank. Burbank is now in a pole position to win their district this year.
You want to skip ahead to Burbank? I heard they got 150 kids in that program.
Do they really?
Yeah, that's freaking awesome that they've done that. You know, Lanier's numbers are way up. I mean, it's really cool to see what these coaches are doing all over town. And I told you, I went out to Lanier. I saw a couple of guys that were freaking dudes.
Yeah.
Running back, wide receiver that were just big, fast, elite. we got players all over town, man. It's going to be a fun year.
It is, 100%. Roosevelt is number 8. Johnson's number 9. Burbank number 10. Just wanted to get all those in there. Roosevelt's playing Smithson Valley, their first game. They got a new head coach, Darnell Barnes, since Matt Carroll left last year. I think he left when his son left as well. His son graduated last year now at UTRGV. So congratulations to the Barnes family. However, they went 6-4 last year, 4-4 in district. 8 returning starters on offense, 7 on defense. So you got a lot of the same guys coming back, and they were a good team last year. They barely missed out on the playoffs. That should be a fun game against Smithson Valley just to see kind of where they are. I don't expect them to win that game because Smithson Valley's that damn good, but that should be a pretty good one this week. Johnson playing Judson this week. Johnson is 9th. They have obviously the biggest loss was Ty Hawkins left. He was probably one. If they had Ty Hawkins, he probably would have been like top 3 in this poll, top 4 maybe in this poll.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He's one of the most phenomenal players in our area. Obviously, he's going to SMU. He left to go to IMG Academy. Is that what it is? Out in Florida. They went 10-2 last year. It's going to be interesting to see how they go this year without him because word on the street is that they found out kind of in March, April, so they've had a little bit of time to plan for not having him. However, when you lose a player of that caliber, how is the team really going to go,
Well said.
And then Burbank, number 10. So let's get to our first TNL game of the year. TNL is back for their 16th season. You can hear the soothing sounds of Chuck Miketinac on the mic and see me, maybe once a quarter.
Sidekicking with Don Harris. And
yeah, Don Harris.
Matty Roy on the side.
I'll be on the sidelines. Our first game is one of the best rivalries in our area, too. It's O'Connor and Brandeis. O'Connor coming off a rough year a little bit. I mean, 3-7, it's a down year for Dave Molesky for sure. But he's going to always have a team ready. I mean, they don't come out and
special teams.
He mentioned it 4 times in the interview.
Did he really?
Special teams, yes. You'll listen to it today because I'm sure you're going to air it today. But.
Well, I'm waiting to talk to him. I hope I get to talk to him before Thursday, obviously. But we always ask him keys to victory when we do a game that he's involved in, and he goes, "It's the same 3 every time. You know that, right?" Yes, I know, but I'm just curious to see if something has changed by chance.
How long's he been at O'Connor? 20+ years, right? It's been a while.
Yeah, he's the face of O'Connor football. That's all I can say. And they had some good coaches there before he got there.
Last year when we had an O'Connor game, I was trying to get him at halftime, and he's shifty. I missed him, and so he went into the locker room and didn't get the halftime interview. Coach, I'm coming for you this year. You're not.
Oh, good luck. He's still pretty quick on his feet.
I know. He's agile, man.
Yeah.
He had his arm wrapped around.
Business on game day, man.
He was not happy. He had his arm around a kid. He was talking to him, and I was just like, I'm not going to bother that. Nope.
Yeah.
You guys, we don't get a halftime interview today. Let's hear from Coach Molesky real quick on this matchup with Brandeis and how special this rivalry is.
Start the season off on TNL. How special is that once again that you get to start the season off on TNL against our arguably your biggest rival?
Oh, it's not arguably, it is. I mean, you would have to live under a rock not to understand that in this community and in the Brandeis community too. It's a heck of a way to start off a football season, and so that on top of a brand new football season just adds that much more excitement, enthusiasm. To being out here at 6:45 in the morning to practice and getting yourself ready, and so it's not going to be hard to get our kids excited about playing that first game.
And my final question would be, how much more difficult is it? They have a whole new coaching staff over there, so you might not know exactly what to expect look-wise. The in-game challenges are going to be a little bit different.
It is, and it's going to be we'll be constantly adjusting to what they do, and by the same token, they hadn't worked together, and they're going to have to figure out us as well, in the course of it. But the thing too is there's really no difference. I mean, we all have about the same amount of practice and work to get ready for that ball game, and then ultimately it's going to be those kids, playing that are going to be the ones that make the difference.
Chuck, what's this rivalry like between Brandeis and O'Connor? I know they're not in the same district anymore, but it's still one of the best in our area.
Yeah, I mean, I only really can attest to what I saw with my own 2 eyes in terms of when my own kids were going to Clark. Anytime Clark played any of those schools in that league, and then, if it was Brandeis or O'Connor, like those games had some juice because those kids all live so close together in the same, basically the same backyard. So, I think some of it has to do with the amount of success that both programs have had that have added to the rivalry over the years. I mean, these two teams for the longest time, and it didn't really matter the sport, were, two of the bigger bullies on the block. Right. So, the fact that they get to start on week one like this, well, what a challenge for these coaches and players, right? That you get a game like this to begin the season in. We're better for it.
He touched on it a little bit, how different it's going to be. Yes, Keamy Lewis is the new head coach over at Brandeis. I personally have not met the man yet, so I don't really know that much about him. Yep. Have you met him already?
Yeah. Yeah, he's been around a while. And, he's very low-key, very non-demonstrative, very in control of everything that's going on. He's high energy, but not when you see him on the sideline. He's, very much a tactician when it comes to channeling energy and making sure that, if things are going crazy on a football field, all you have to do is look at your coach, and he's sturdy as can be. So he's, one of those up-and-coming young coaches that, I think a lot of people are going to, we'll be talking about it for many, many years to come as one of those guys.
Brandeis is looking to rebound this year. They only went 4-4 in district, 5-6 overall last year. They did make the playoffs, lost in the first round. They have 16 returning starters, so it's going to be a year of maturity, I guess, for them. But also, you wonder how the new coaching staff is going to be able to motivate all these kids and whatnot. So let's hear from Mr. High Energy, Keamy Lewis.
To be able to showcase everything that you guys have worked on this summer and in the fall camp, to be on television to start the season, how exciting is that for you and for this program?
I think it's really good for this community. So it's called our Crush Game. That's what we call it here at Brandeis. So it's a big community type of deal. We're going to have a sold-out crowd. It's very good for this community and for these kids to come out and start fast with a rivalry school. So we know O'Connor's going to be ready to go, but we're going to be ready as well.
Do you know much about that rivalry and how intense this rivalry is? I know you've been a part of some of them before. This is one of the big ones in San Antonio.
Most definitely. So I hear about it, heard about it. Now I'm going to be a part of it. So we can't wait to get there.
It's and Brandeis has won quite a few of these in a row. But as every coach knows, that pendulum eventually will swing the other way. How do you guys got to keep these guys from being complacent?
We just got to make sure that we focus on the game itself and do the right thing. So we're not going to make this game bigger than what it is. It's going to be big for the community. But for us, just focus on the fine details and what we've been practicing, focus on our training.
Obviously, that interview being conducted by the I couldn't think of the word, by Jack Green, our wonderful photographer. Illustrious. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. You see, you always got my back, Chuck.
Or mercurial.
There's a lot of adjectives that we can use for him.
But ultimately, the best guy on the planet.
Absolutely. Baldest guy on the planet, too. Hey! So, Brandeis and O'Connor, final thoughts for this week? It's gonna be a fun one this Thursday.
It will, because the thing I admire most about Molesky and what he's done at O'Connor is there's never an excuse. They could be wrecked with injuries. Their season may not be going the way they want it to go. Whatever it is, it's never an excuse to not go win a football game the next time out. So I'm sure he's just as curious as anybody to see what he has opening night and then to see how they build and, try to do better than what they did last year. And then for Brandeis, same thing. I mean, you had a good coach. You got another good coach coming in. You've always got good players at Brandeis. I would imagine they're not going to miss a beat, but that's the beauty of week one, is that you don't know quite what you're going to get. And then, the biggest gains you're going to make during the course of a high school season is from week one to week two. So I think there are going to be some surprises. We know there are going to be some surprises, some gadgetry from Molesky on special teams. That's what always makes these games fun, too. You can't go to sleep or run commercial breaks during punts or extra points or something crazy, because he's going to get you.
He truly is a three-phase coach.
Over, under on onside kicks, too.
Oh, is that where you're putting this at?
Yes.
1.5. You're taking the over.
Okay, 1.5 is more fair, yes.
So we can't have any pushes in here. So.
Right.
This is how we're going to do High School Hype Squad this year. We're not going to have those Wednesday episodes like we had last year. We're going to make it a little bit shorter, do about 20 minutes of high school every Monday. And then we'll post it as a separate podcast a little bit later this week as we get closer and closer to Thursday night lights. But I'm excited for another season with you guys.
I'm excited too, Matt. I mean, every year it just feels like it's time, right? We went through the summer, wasn't as hot as it's normally been. I'm grateful for that, but it is time to play some grid ball on a Thursday night, and thankfully it's here.
Thankfully it is. I'm really going to be trying to get on. We have a game on Halloween this year. I'm going to be really trying to get you guys to, put a costume on for the show on that Thursday.
What do they call that? Cosplay?
Cosplay.
Yeah, dude.
I just need to get you guys some devil horns or something to clip on. It won't even be that bad.
Dude.
One angel.
I'm 60 years old, man. I got the old man costume. We'll go with that.
We're keeping you young, Chuck. Come on.
I can be young without participating in cosplay.
Lame. That's all we got for today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll be back on Thursday. My mom will not be, but she is watching and smiling, and I think she's been recording this whole thing.
She's very proud of you, as she should be. That's cool.
It's on YouTube, right? You are here.
Look at
That's
that.
correct. Anyway, Mom, any embarrassing stories you want to tell? No? All right, cool. Thank God. Bob, anything on the way out?
No, we're good.
All right. That's all we got for today. UTSA. We'll talk a lot of UTSA and college football on Thursday because it is week 1 of the college football season as well. We'll talk a lot about that on Thursday. Until then, everyone have a good week.